Welcome to another SGSO Network Member Highlight, where we interview different members of the school garden and the SGSO Network, and we ask them what their work is within the different facets of school gardening. My name is Daniel Barrera Ortega, and I'm the SGSO Network Program Specialist. And today I'm joined by the amazing.
Hello, I'm Katie. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Youth Programs Director at the Youth Garden Project in Moab, Utah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Katie. Well, Reggie couldn't be here today for folks that might be looking for them, but we'll carry on in their spirit. And we're really excited to talk to you specifically around the design aspect of school gardens, right? Like, how do we set up these spaces in ways that students see themselves, that community members can take ownership of the garden without necessarily us having to be there, as well as just the impact that it has on their mental health and well-being. So we're really, really excited to talk to you about this. So to kind of get us started, we would love to hear a little bit about you and your organization. What role do you play, as well as where are you located?
Totally. Yeah, so like I said, I'm Katie. I'm the Youth Programs Director at the Youth Garden Project, and we are based in Moab, Utah. So, yeah, coming up next week will be my 1 year anniversary of being in this role. So still relatively new, but yeah, loving it so much. Yeah, the Youth Garden Project is a small nonprofit garden-based education organization. And yeah, we're located on high school property in our 1 acre farm. And we serve roughly 900 youth a year and also have a ton of community events and also have a CSA program.
Oh, that's awesome. And you're a garden educator for these
Yeah.
guys.
So I'm the youth programs director. So I supervise a team of 4 instructors when we have everyone there. And also, yeah, we don't have instructors year round. So right now I'm doing a lot more like planning and logistical stuff, communicating, collaborating, things like that. And then our programs kick off mid-March.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear. Also, before you came into this position, like what was your background? Did you also come from education, from school gardens? I would love to hear a little bit more. What was your journey to get
Yeah.
into this position?
Totally. So originally I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And yeah, I went to my undergrad up in northern Wisconsin at Northland College, where I studied outdoor education with a focus in equity and inclusion. So really in northern Wisconsin and Wisconsin, yeah, grew a strong love for the outdoors, for the Great Lakes, and also through my education for accessibility and universal design. But yeah,
Hmm.
my time in college was when I first was exposed to gardening. I just had a little garden bed in my backyard and just tried gardening. It was totally experimental and it was just such a wonderful experience. And some things grew, some things didn't grow. But yeah, that's really where I saw all this like love and care and time that I put into this little garden and got to see the benefit of it. So that really stuck with me. But yeah, after Northland, I went to Antioch University in New England, where I got my master's in environmental education and a certificate in socially responsible organizational leadership. Um, and yeah, then straight from there, ended up at the Youth Garden Project. So yeah, lots of bits and pieces that led me here, but yeah, just have such a strong passion for environmental education, for accessibility, and now gardening.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it sounds like you've come in with a pretty strong background, or at least you've always had a focus on equity. I've heard of universal design too, in teaching as well.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear. I don't know if you happen to be able to tell me a little bit more of how of about UD, universal design.
totally. Yeah. So universal design, there's universal design, which is more focused on like architecture and the like reduction of barriers to access in physical spaces. And then there's universal design for learning, which is looking more at the greater environment, like teaching styles can go, I mean, it's such a broad field where it's like we look at transportation, financial barriers, like just being intimidated to come to a space. There's so many elements, but that's where I love it so much because it's really this overarching goal that really is not intended to be met because we can always do more to meet this goal. And there's always new factors and considerations, and our world is changing constantly. And so, yeah, it's really reducing barriers to access on all fronts. Huge topic.
Yeah, we could probably talk about this for
Yes,
as
for a
long as
long
breaking
time.
it down. Exactly. And I think this is really important, especially when we talk about the aspect of how we design spaces so we have students and families and community members be able to feel like they can access it, right? As you said, it's lowering barriers, which are things that sometimes we just don't even talk about. Or in our own worldview, we like realize. So, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about how this shows up in your work with youth, with young people. What are some design choices or spaces in your gardens that you feel really help folks um, access these spaces, feel like they can walk into them and interact without us having to be there?
Yeah, totally. There's so many ways I could answer this question, and yeah, it's such a big topic, but yeah, in putting it into the Youth Garden Project, one really beneficial thing that we do and as a part of our programs is kids will start coming to the Youth Garden Project in preschool and they attend programs through sixth grade. And so that might be twice a year field trips through their school or after school club, summer camp, spring break camp, things like that. And so kids really get a sense of comfort and ownership over the garden over like throughout their childhood. And the garden is also open to the public and we have a nibble garden that's just totally for the community. And
A
so
naval garden. I can't.
it's very cute. It's right on the bike path. And so people can just bike by or walk by and go get free veggies. So those are some things that we do that yeah, we really see kids feeling a sense of comfort and knowledge and ownership over the youth garden when we're not there or when they're in programs. But if they are in programs, there's also so many more elements that go into this. So yeah, gardens are wonderful because they're a naturally therapeutic tool, but even with that, there's a lot that goes into that. And so facilitation, working with kids, we also are facilitating these experiences with them, and that goes to training. So, like I mentioned, I have this passion in accessibility and working with neurodiverse youth, and we do a lot of training on the forefront of things and then active conversations throughout. And so we're actively supporting youth and learning best how to meet their needs and listening to them. And with that too, it's really important to me as a supervisor that the instructors feel a sense of community and belonging and ownership and like they can use the garden as a therapeutic space too. So it's really this larger community that we want this space to feel comfortable for all people that visit and interact with the garden. And that shows to the kids and that shows to community members and to our staff. Yeah, so there's so many things that go into it, whether we're there as staff or not. And we also have like chickens. People love chickens.
Everybody loves chickens.
Everyone loves chickens. And those are, yeah, people can go into the orchard and visit the chickens and hang out. And that was actually maybe the first thing I heard about from the community when I moved to Moab is people were like, we love the chickens. So there's just a lot of different elements that go into it. Yeah, so much more that I could say.
I just love this concept that you're really taking time to have your staff know how to use it as a therapeutic tool. And I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, but when as a garden educator, you show up in a space and feel comfortable and model how to use it, I think the kids sometimes or like young people start mirroring that as well. And I also love the nibble boxes. Like abundance. Everybody, there's a little bit for everybody, and we can help this space grow together so it feeds not just the people of this school, but also just anyone that comes into contact with the space. Um,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention too is we also have ed beds or educational beds. And so those are garden beds just for the kids to use that don't go to our CSA or are not a part of the Nibble Garden. And I think that's also super important for kids to be able to experiment and have ownership over their specific garden beds that don't impact the food that we have going out into the community.
That's so you have, hold on, to recap then, you
Yes.
have the different types of beds you have. You have the nibble beds, which are open kind of to the community, right?
Yes.
The wider community. And then you have CS kind of sounds like production beds,
Yes, yeah.
right? That go towards the CSA at your farm,
Yeah.
right? And then you have the educational beds where kids know that this is like for learning purposes.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, and important for the kids to know which ones go where. Like
Yeah.
90% of the education piece is just like having clear denominations for kids as well. It's a big thing in accessibility. But
Definitely.
yeah, thank you. I mean, that sounds really, really robust, and I'm sure that folks that are working with you are learning so much on, again, how to use the gardening as a therapeutic tool. I wonder if do you have any short anecdotes or short story on a student maybe finding peace and joy in your garden space?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So one that comes to mind is a kiddo that I worked with a lot last summer and he had been to the garden, multiple years and really did not love participating in larger group activities during summer camp and just preferred to do his own thing. And so that's tricky when you have limited staff and can't be
Mhm.
one-on-one with a kid the whole day. And so that started out with a lot of conversations between me and him and the instructors. And him just saying, I really want to weed. All I want to do is weed all day. And we were like, okay,
Hey,
cool.
to each their own.
Right. We were like, okay, good to know. Um, and but we still couldn't have just one staff member weeding with him all day. So really that started conversations and I would check in with him every day and go over what the day was going to look like, go over the schedule, and then we would pick a time that I was available or another admin team member was available to weed with him. And that really helped him be more present in participating in the larger group activities and also look forward to his favorite thing, which is weeding. And of course, with that too, it's like not every day went perfectly like that. And there's always, people feel differently every day, and especially kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it was a learning and growing process, but by the end of the summer, like we had our routine down and he knew that if he needed a break, he could come check in with me and we could weed together if I had the time, and he was understanding if I didn't. So, yeah, that's one example.
That's so awesome. I love that you all engaged in conversation with the student and said,
Yeah.
what do you want to get out of this? Like, what do you it sounds like you all empowered him to say how he wanted to interact with the space. And as you said, because weeding is not my favorite thing, but some kids just really are into
Gosh,
it.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
whole group. They all wanted to weed.
I mean, it's therapeutic. The weeding is therapeutic. And also that you found the system, and so many things come to mind, right? Like he knew, one, that this was a safe space, right? When I can go and weed. He also knew that there were times when he was gonna go out and he could look forward to it, so it was predictable. Um, wow, that's really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think it's also important to acknowledge that we are based in Moab, Utah. It's very hot in the summer. We don't always have access to being in our garden beds, which we are an outdoor based program and we have an inside building where the offices are, but Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that, we're environmental educators and we're working in the climate crisis. And so we've had to adapt when it's those weeks in the middle of summer that are just so hot, kids can't be outside and they might not have that same like way to use the garden as a therapeutic resource. But yeah, one day we got all the kids inside. We said we've got to have some AC time, and we
Mhm.
just pulled up videos on the projector and had kids yell out different veggies they knew in the garden. We would look up these veggies growing from like seed to germination to a full plant. And the kids were just so amazed seeing that process too, of like, this is what's happening underground. And it turned into the veggies that we're eating out there. And so it was still just this really incredible experience for kids and for me too. I couldn't believe like some of these videos, just how wild it was seeing these seeds grow. Um, but yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that as environmental educators, we have to be flexible and adapt, and especially working with the realities of our world and the summer heat. So hot here.
Yeah, and I think I'm also gonna link it to, we just had a webinar on how our water use is also going to change, and also as it relates to how you design the spaces, right? And how this garden educator that did this presentation use it as teaching tools for the kids to understand like why do these structures look this way, and for them to explore in a science project. That's really important to think about, that the practice of garden educators is constantly changing as the environment changes. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. So man, we could talk for so long. I
I
know
know,
we
right?
could. And as we're wrapping up this kind of like bite-sized snapshot of your work, I wanted to know, for someone that it might be new to the school garden movement, to being a garden educator that might be interested or trying to learn more, I wonder if you had any words of advice for them to find their spaces, their space within the garden movement.
Totally. Yeah, so I am still relatively new to the movement. And so when I started at YGP, I would not consider myself a gardener. I'm still learning so much. So if you're in this boat, I feel you. I've been there and I'm still there. But something I so quickly learned with the farm to school and garden-based education movement is the people in this community are so kind and so knowledgeable and talented, and they're willing to help. So I've been able to find resources or even call up other organizations that do similar things to the youth garden and be like, how'd you navigate this? And people are so willing to talk and be helpful if they have the time. And it's just a really wonderful community of people. And also, we're working with kids, and there's unexpected factors, and there's weather. There's so many things that are out of our control, and there are things in our control, but it's all just great learning experiences. So don't be too hard on yourself if you're new to the movement. And the last thing I'll say that with all that in mind is evaluation. Include evaluation. It's so important. We utilize culturally responsive and equitable evaluation at the Youth Garden Project. And it's just so crucial to talk to the communities we work with and to learn from and with community in a way that's accessible for for all of us to share information and learn from each other. And yeah, something a professor of mine from school once shared is evaluation is the driving force of social and environmental change. So that's something that I hold very close to my heart and try and embed in the work that I do. So just kind of throwing that out there, evaluation can be really intimidating, and I'm definitely not an expert evaluator and have so much more growth to do, but yeah, it's just so important. And that's what really strengthens our programs is talking to community, talking to the kids, getting feedback, and doing so in a way that we're getting accurate information that is useful, and accessible to the people we work with. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's so important. Thank you so much for all of that. Somebody should put that on a shirt. That would make a
I would wear
great
that
shirt.
shirt.
So, and it should. It's a suggestion for anyone out there to put it up. That is so important. Katie, before we adjourn, I forgot there's one more question. Is there anything that we should be on the lookout from the Youth Garden project that you're excited about that maybe we can check out?
Yes. So we have an online auction fundraiser coming up, and that is February 26th through March 4th. And there's tons of incredible things in the auction, and there's also a lot of things if you want to come visit Moab that are less expensive than like getting a hotel room or whatever you might get on the internet. But and also it goes to YGP. So yeah, if you're interested check out our auction, our online auction, and I'll maybe send that link to you, Daniel, so people can access it. And if you come to Moab, please come visit the Youth Garden Project. We love visitors. We're open to the public. Feel free to just stop in, and someone will be so happy to talk to you. So yeah, that's the big thing to plug. But yeah, I just want to thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun to chat, and yeah, I'm just really appreciative.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to have had you. Is that good English? So excited to have you and to hear both your journey, your background, your work. As I said, these could be like hour-long conversations of just learning what folks do out there. But I know that folks in our network are gonna really benefit from hearing about the Youth Garden Project as well as to learn more. So I will link all of their socials in our notes in our webinar library where this is going to live, as well as any other relevant links, information, how to get in touch with Youth Garden Project. But thank you again, Katie. Super grateful for your time. And thank you, everyone that might be seeing this past, present, future. And please join us again for another member highlight. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.